November 5, 2025 regular meeting of the Holland City Council. I am Mayor Nathan Box, and I am calling this meeting to order. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Byrd. Vreeman.
Here.
Raymond. Here. Corbin. Here. Soul. Rowan.
Present.
Shea.
Here.
Schulteis.
Present.
Mayor Box.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. We're going to begin this evening's meeting first with opening prayers we've done for many years, followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'd invite you to join us. I invite you to join me in prayer. Lord, thank you for a wonderful evening. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the opportunity to have discussion without discord. The opportunity to find a meeting of the minds, to legislate and do the work of the people of the City of Holland. Give us open minds, give us open ears and open hearts. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next items on our agenda are our consent agenda items. These are items that are considered to be fairly routine and have been previously reviewed by council members as part of our council packet, and they will be enacted in one motion unless a member of the public or a member of council asks to have an item removed from the consent agenda, and then it will be placed in its regular order on the regular agenda. But before I ask if anyone would like to do that, Brenda, would you please review the consent agenda for us?
4A, excuse the absences of Councilmember Byrd and Soul. 4B, approve the minutes of October 15 regular meeting and October 22, 2025 study session. 4C, claims filed against the city. 4D, charitable gaming license for Holland Public Schools Educational Foundation, adopting a resolution. 4E, Great Lakes fireworks permit. 4F, place delinquent ordinance violation invoices on the winter 2025 property tax bills, adopt a resolution. 4G, annual adjustments of interest rates for certain special assessments. 4H, the July financial reports. 4I, accept state and local cybersecurity grant. 4J, accept next cycle Michigan Harvest Grant. 4K, declare transportation items as surplus. 4L, approve the purchase of one 2026 Ford F-150 hybrid pickup truck with topper. 4M, the chiller and water tank replacement at City Hall. 4N, award a bid for 22 sets of firefighter turnout gear. 4O, award the fire protection services bid. 4P, a revocable license agreement for 159 South River Avenue projecting sign. And 4Q, a revocable license agreement for 65 East 7th Street, Suite 300, a projecting sign.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there any member of the public that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda? Seeing none. Any member of council that would like to have an item removed from consent? Seeing none there either. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the consent agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved by Vreeman. Is there support? Support by Rowan. Any discussion? Seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Vreeman.
Yes.
Raymond. Yes. Corbin.
Yes.
Rowan.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Schulteis.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Under the Open Meetings Act of the State of Michigan, we provide the public the opportunity to address council at our regular meetings, our study sessions, and at every one of our board, committee, and commission meetings. We do have guidelines that we ask you to follow, however. We ask that when you come to the podium, you please state your name and the municipality in which you live, because it's important for us to know whether or not you're a resident of the City of Holland. You may speak to council for up to 5 minutes. There are 3 lights on the dais to assist you. There's a green light, a yellow light, and a red light. Green light means that you're doing well on time. Yellow light means that you have 1 minute left, and the red light means that your time has expired, and we are strict about that. Please do remember that this is one-way communication. It's an opportunity for you to be able to speak to us about any subject that you believe is important, but we don't answer questions during this time or engage in discussion. But if there's something that staff may be able to circle back to you after the meeting, we will try to accommodate that. Now, having said that, is there anyone here who would like to address council at this time? If so, please come forward. And you are one of our wonderful HIAC students. Since we have a couple of additional questions we like to ask you. We always like to know what school you go to, what grade you're in, what you're doing with HIAC, and if you have any plans for the future. And I always say if you don't have any, that's fine, because I didn't have any at your age either. So go right ahead.
Okay, hi, good evening. I am Angeli Polanco. I go to West Ottawa High School and I serve on the Social Services Committee. And after high school, I will attend Davenport University and major in Human Resource Management. And I would like to start by thanking HIAC and the City Council for having me here today. As an immigrant and the oldest in my family, I have spent life looking out for others, my siblings. I gained a sense of responsibility at an early age and was seen or was forced to grow at a young age. Between learning a new language and translating bills for my parents, I realized that I was good at helping others. And I was able to take my skills and help my community back in 10th grade with LAUP. So LAUP gave me the opportunity to help my community, and it opened up a lot of doors. I was no longer just helping my parents, but my community and the most vulnerable, and using my bilingual skills with it as well. I have volunteered with LAUP for 2 years, and it will be 3 years this year, so I'm very excited. And I am very grateful to have programs in Holland like HIAC and LAUP that give a voice to young leaders like myself that would love to improve our community and make it a welcoming space. And yeah, thank you HIAC for having me here and allowing me to expand my horizons on my helping skills. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And you are also one of our HIAC students.
I am. My name is Brianna Munoz. I'm a senior at West Ottawa High School. I am a part of the Social Services Committee as well, and I plan to attend Wayne State next fall to study public affairs. Today, I would like to speak for and about my community. As a Mexican American, I want to recognize the efforts of the City of Holland towards supporting the Hispanic community, which I can proudly say makes up nearly 25% of the Holland population. Back in 2019, Holland held its first international festival, embarking on a new era of representation and celebration of the diversity in our developing city. Additionally, this past summer, we celebrated the 60th anniversary of LAUP's Fiesta Week. These kinds of events are so much more than just fiestas. They are a way for us to feel seen in a community that has not always been catered to us. It is truly inspiring when I am in public and see signs that are in both English and Spanish. Little differences like this are what really show the progress that our city has made. It has been incredible to witness the growth of Holland and be a part of a community that is more now than ever valuing diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is my hope that we continue to grow these values and thrive amongst each other. I want to thank every one of you for your receptiveness as we continue to build a community that is welcoming to all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And you are also one of our wonderful HIAC students.
Yes, I am. Okay, so hello, my name is Juliana Madrigal, and I am a senior at West Ottawa High School. I also serve on the Social Services Committee for HIAC, and I have lived in Holland all my life. First, I want to take a moment to share how much I appreciate how our town is very put together and welcoming our community. It continues to grow and evolve. I have noticed that how much effort goes into making a city, this city a better place for everyone. From the proposed ice skating rink opening soon, to the way our downtown area feels so alive and full of people always, our beaches, our centennial parks. No matter the season, there's always something beautiful to see. Whether it's the tulips in spring, or the art and murals downtown in the summer, or the lights and snow that make our city glow in the winter. However, while we continue to grow, I also think it's important to focus on how we can preserve and what makes Holland special. Our sense of safety, inclusiveness, and belonging. With everything happening in the world, especially all around issues like immigration, it's important that every family in our community feels safe and accepted. No one should live in fear or feel like they don't belong here. Holland has always been a place built on community and care for one another. As a student and a lifelong resident, I hope we can make Holland a place where everyone, no matter their background, feels at home, and where young people like me can grow up and surrounded by kindness and opportunity. Thank you all for the work you do to make Holland the city it is today, and thank you for continuing to listen to and support the voices of youth in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all three of you. Very well done. We know that it's not easy to come up to the podium in front of a group like this and speak in public. You did a phenomenal job. Wonderful always for our HIAC students. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? If so, please come forward. And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Ann Henriksen, Zealand. Just want to preface this with the students here that I'm not here to offend anyone. This evening, I'm glad that you are still here for 2 more years, Mayor Box, because that means I too am here for 2 more years, God willing. There is something you and the public need to sit up and take notice. This means the city manager and lawyer included. We don't see any evidence of DEI labels and flags like on the city website anymore. Yet DEI is still evident that its tentacles touching areas that should never be allowed to influence our children. DEI is sexual orientation covered up as essential by all the other protected class groups in the Holland Anti-Discrimination Ordinance. The ordinance was written and delivered to the City of Holland by the city manager, Keith Van Beek, and Ron Vanderveen, and then the then city lawyer. It was directed by Mayor Box through Mike Trathui, the pro tem. Who wrote the ordinance? The state of Michigan, Dana Nessel, AG, a lesbian. It is not in the Michigan Constitution at the time, but she was enforcing sexual orientation through ordinances throughout the state. Let's be honest, sexual orientation was the real reason for revising the outdated civil rights ordinance, but the add-ins were thrown in to cover and affirm sexual practices that identify lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender behavior, not just people. In 2020, it was a noble ordinance about rights to live in a home and have job opportunities, which all should have. For many who voted for the ordinance, even though it was against their beliefs, it meant the reasonable needs of the public majority. What is troubling is that sexual orientation defines and protects sexual rights, not people. It is sexual behavior right. So the 2020 ordinance protects taught and experienced sexual behavior knowledge. Remember, the state wrote Holland's ordinance, not under the radar. Now under the radar, the State Board of Education is presenting mandatory health classes that contain sex education. Mandatory meaning that every student must have these classes K through 12 to graduate. This new health standard was quietly put up for the public viewing in September, and a savvy law firm, Salt and Light Global, saw it and exposed their intentional silence. It proposed standards, introduction, inclusion. DEI inclusion subtly appears. Then in 6th grade, it resurfaces as sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Sexual orientation means sexual feelings, sexual attraction, sexual practices, visually presented to middle and high schoolers as their rights. The 2.1 million children in Michigan will be exposed to sexual orientation practice instruction in Michigan schools. The standard does not mention parental opting out of the sexual practice education, or does it give parents rights to see the material? Children will be taught that they have access to trusted adults if parents are not suitable. If parents keep their children home during sexual orientation teaching, the school may initiate truancy charges. Much of the teaching offered is from Planned Parenthood Resources, who champions lesbian, gay, sexual, transgender, and questioning issues, plus abortion, with the rationale that kids should be taught how to practice sexual behavior safely. October 14th, parents and leaders appeared in Lansing. The State of Michigan Education Department is now facing an oversight congressional committee asking tough questions with the hope of proposing to abolish the new standard of health because it violates existing laws. Redeem yourself, Mayor Box, Keith Van Beek, and Council. Come to Lansing November 11th to the Board of Education meeting and protect our children in Holland. For the public, for more information, contact me, prayunited28@gmail.com. The state needs to hear from you to protect our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Next item on the agenda, item number 8, unfinished business. Sub-item A, traffic changes, recommendation for an all-way stop at 16th Street and Ottawa Avenue. Mr. Van Beek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Transportation Director Brian White to come up. And, either place, Brian, you're good. And we will have 2 items that have both come before you, but Brian will walk through. We're actually going to make a different process recommendation on both of them, but we're going to start with always stop at 16th Street and Ottawa.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Box, council members. So we've seen this one before, and wanted to just review it in general terms, and then we can go into details as need be, but thank you. This item was originally brought to the traffic committee by Hines, and the traffic committee took that, deliberated with that, and came up with some recommendations that included the all-way stop and then some no parking restrictions that can be shown there in the orange and white highlighting on the north side of 16th Street. When we brought this back, or brought this before council earlier in October, there was some input that we received from West Michigan Uniform. So staff has since circled back with West Michigan Uniform, met with them on site. Everyone's feeling comfortable with the proposal. I think West Michigan Uniform was particularly concerned about the no parking and the extent of that. So we dialed that in with them, and so I think that the recommendation as it stands with some no parking restrictions there is going to work for all parties involved. So the recommendation stands that we would like to move forward with this. I should note, though, that given the time of year, this is probably going to be a springtime implementation were that to move forward. So happy to answer any questions with regard to this particular item.
All right, great. Thanks, Brian. Any questions for staff? All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
I think you covered them all last time. Appreciate it.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
One second before you
Yeah.
ask it, I'd heard they were changing.
Not this one.
not
So
the-
this,
Just the second one.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So this we are recommending that you are able to act on the recommendation that we're making in this case, because really we just checked in with the neighbor and the recommendations stayed the same from the initial information.
Motion to approve as recommended.
Moved by Schulteis. Is there support? Support by Rowan. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Raymond. Yes. Corbin?
Yes.
Rowan?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
Schultheis?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item under unfinished business, item B, traffic changes, removal of non-compliant crosswalk on 40th Street. Mr. Van Beek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council and public. The lead-in that I'll give here is, yes, this one, not to lead with the end, but we are actually going to recommend in the end that you postpone this action. And really the reason that we're recommending postponing this action, even though some of you are probably like, Keith, we've talked about this for a long time, and for the public out there to know, we have talked about this for a long time. We've had a lot of input on it. The longest conversation was a study session 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. But from the first time this was brought to council in the council full regular session forum, there's actually some changes in the two options that we're presenting to you. And our process, which I think is a good process, is when we bring these traffic changes, we do the presentation in this setting, and then we actually recommend postponing action so we can notify the community, and particularly those within circumference of the impacted area. So we make sure that it's not a surprise to anyone as much as possible, and we're informed. So I'll take that part of it, Brian, where I'm at least letting them know that's what the ultimate recommendation is, because everyone's seen it a lot, and if they accept the recommendation, we're going to go through it again. I think you can give kind of a high level, you can hit all the points, but kind of an executive summary of where we're at.
Sure, okay. All right, so this is the location along 40th Street with the Holland Christian facilities on the north side, and then cobblestone development there on the south side of 40th Street. It's about mid-block between Grasscup and Ottawa Avenue. Here's just a street level view. And again, don't necessarily need to go through the whole process here, but it's been through the traffic committee, been before the council, received a fair amount of input on it with the initial information that was provided. So we went back and put together some more detailed traffic detail, traffic information and movements, basically traffic movements, including pedestrian movements out there that are documented here and shared with council. And then this is a origin destination, basically just showing the different routes that users could make utilizing the crosswalk, or if the crosswalk wasn't there, to navigate to the nearest all-way stop, either at Ottawa or Grasscup. And then this is really the new information that basically we looked at the study session. Obviously, the public still hasn't seen these, so at least in a formal setting. So one of the items here before you is basically to remove the crosswalk. That's exhibit number 1 here that's shown. Again, can go into those details if we'd like, but basically that's the removal option. And then there's another option to keep the crosswalk there, but then to basically upgrade that crosswalk to what would be current standards. This isn't our recommendation, but should there be a desire from council to put this improvement in there, this is what we would recommend to do in order to bring it up to current standards. So with that, the recommendation still stands to remove the crosswalk. And one of the things that was brought up at the study session, we didn't have a slide at the time, but I'm going to go ahead and show this now, is speed is an element here. And again, with the all-way stops at Grasscup and Ottawa, we feel from a safety standpoint that it's just safer to have those pedestrian movements occur at those all-way stop controlled intersection, as opposed to mid-block where you've got the speed factor involved. So happy to discuss all these items in more detail, but this is the the information as presented, and the recommendation again is for removal, that exhibit number 1.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Any questions for staff at this time? Yes, Mr. Schulteis.
Yes, you have to apologize. I wasn't here for the study session. I do remember us talking about this a while ago. I do see in the package that there's public engagement mentioning the fire lane. Can you touch on that?
Yeah.
Please, as a reminder.
Yep. So the fire lane basically is that pathway to the south. Basically connects 40th Street with the cobblestone development. And that element of the improvements in the infrastructure here needs to stay. And so the options here presented to you basically take that into account. So yeah, I don't know if we want to go into any more detail with regard to that, but that's an element of this that needs to remain. Yep.
Any other questions for staff? Oh, yeah. Ms. Rowan.
Can you go to that speed sign?
Yeah.
That speed slide?
Sure.
So if I recall at the study session, Chief Messer was there. He's a member of your commission. And he said something that I thought was very jarring, and now you have a slide to sort of back it up. But he said 60 feet per minute or something like that at 35 miles an hour. That's the thrust that somebody could experience if they were hit by a car at 35 miles per hour, something like that.
Yeah. So there's a few different graphics here with regard to line of sight and regard with the degree to, or the severity, if you will, were an accident to happen. And obviously that severity just increases with speed. And so this, particularly the bottom section there, is highlighting that. So.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
that was one of my points when we chatted about this at both at the study session and at the city council session, is that this is really a long, unencumbered roadway with the speed limit set at 35. Perhaps people go faster. Anyhow, I know we're tabling it, but or we're proposing to table it, but I just wanted to reemphasize that point again, and this graphic is welcome. Thank you for your input.
And again, I think it's important, in the traffic committee also deliberated about this quite a bit, but the fact that you've got the all-way stops at the corners and you've got the destinations at the corners, we really feel that that's where we want to be directing the folks that want to walk to the destinations, walk or ride a bike.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for staff? All right, what is the pleasure of council in regard to this item? We would need a motion to postpone.
Move to postpone it.
Moved by Vreeman. Is there support? Support by Rowan. Any discussion? All right, Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Corbin.
Yes.
Rowan.
Yes.
Shay.
Yes.
Schulteis.
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 9, written petitions and communications. In addition to providing the public the opportunity to speak to us in person at our meetings, we do also have an email address where you can send us written correspondence, and that is publiccomment@cityofholland.com. Again, publiccomment@cityofholland.com. When we receive those, we accept them into the record during our regular meetings. We don't read them out loud, but do accept them into the record. Council reads them as part of our packet. We do have a couple of comments this time, so I would entertain a motion to accept those into the record. Moved by Schulteis. Is there support? Support by Vreeman. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, item number 10A, City Clerk, Election Precinct Consolidation and Ordinance Amendment. Mr. Van Beek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Brenda talked to me earlier, and she kind of said, can you cover most of this? And I was like, she could do a great job, but someone ran an election today, if there's a rumor out there. So I think this is relatively straightforward. She wrote a great report. Basically, as I think we all know, the law used to be that you were maxed out at 2,999 voters a precinct. That was back in the day when I was a clerk. And with all the different forms of voting, state laws actually expanded that up to 4,999. So Brenda and her team have made a recommendation for efficiency and effectiveness sake that would combine some of our existing precincts, and that is outlined in front of you and would need to be adopted in the form presented. And beyond that, Brenda could do a much better job of getting into the details. How'd I do though, Brenda?
That's good. There's a map, the next slide, you have the maps of it, I think.
And then we'd communicate that out to voters and
Yes.
everything, but
Right, and your wards would not change. I mean, you'd still have the same boundaries for your wards and the people you represent. It's just the number of people voting at the individual lines at the polls.
All right. Any questions for staff? Yes, Ms. Rowan.
Yes, thank you. Just a clarification, because people get real excited when you talk about messing with their voting and all of that, but just reemphasize the fact that this is just a numbering thing and consolidation for efficiency. Is that accurate?
Correct. Do you have another slide there? I think we have that.
I don't,
There.
yeah.
Okay. Right, so if you look at the one on the left, that shows the ones in pink or red. So those two would just be combined and have one voting location, which they have had in the odd number of years anyway. But this is just saying, we're gonna do that for all elections. We can handle that many people at one location.
And just a follow-up comment on that, two things. Number one, okay, maybe one thing, because I can only remember the one at the moment, but have you had any feedback from people? I know you talked to me about it because Ward 4, my ward, is one of those that's impacted. It seems efficient, but have you had any kind of feedback to the negative about consolidating and having one polling place for all the precincts?
We haven't had any negative feedback, and we asked our people who work at it, our inspectors, for this year, so for the 3 elections, to think about it, and they overwhelmingly said, we can handle it this way for every election. And then Keith mentioned the size, but also there's more absentee voting, so fewer people show up at the polls, and there will be early voting again coming up, and so those people maybe will not show up on election day, but show up a different time.
Okay, that was my other question, was the impact of absentee and alternative opportunities for voting has probably changed the in-person turnout. And again, it just sounds like it's more efficient.
It is.
Right.
It should be more efficient. We, fewer types of ballots that we have to print, fewer people that we need to staff the things, the places. And, you know, the voters will still go to their same location, so they are really not noticing a big difference in it, just which line they go in.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Great, thank you. What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
Move to approve as presented.
Moved by Rowan, is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Shea, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Rowan,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Schulteis,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Raymond. Yes. Corbin.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Item 10B, Downtown Group, amend Downtown Holland Social District boundary and resolution to adopt ordinance as an emergency ordinance. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm going to hand this off to Assistant City Manager Matt Van Dyken, who is dealing with kind of the 2 components here. 1, there's a rumor that we're building an ice park, and 2, that this involves the downtown district, PSD, that both recommended this, but also involves the social district. I don't think this comes as a surprise to council. We'll call it the Mike Trethui situation, where we know that not everyone always agrees on that, and that's okay, so we expect some questions and some debate. Matt, why don't you go over what is recommended here?
Thanks, Keith. And just one point of clarification: we've built an ice park. It's done. Now we're
okay. It was just a rumor. I wasn't sure.
So very exciting stuff. So this is something that we've actually had in downtown Holland since 2021. So that's, I think, back to the COVID days. That's kind of what spurred the social district in downtown Holland. It's been a very positive impact on our businesses, and on our visitor experiences. I can tell you that we have had little to absolutely no issues with our social district. The merchants do a great job of controlling kind of, okay, you can go here, but you can't go here. So it's been a very positive thing for downtown Holland. With the opening of the ice park, we think there's going to be some interest for people to grab a beer or two at New Holland and come on down. And Keith, if you could just hit the next one, thank you. To come on down to the ice park. So the map here actually shows in the orange the existing area that we have social districts. So if anybody doesn't know what a social district means, we actually have 19 restaurants that are legally allowed to serve someone a to-go cup of alcohol and then walk around downtown on the public property. So the recommendation from both the DDA and the PSD would expand that to both sides of the roads on 6th Street, all the way down to the old Ready Whip building, also on both sides of the road, in anticipation of development along that block, making the corner and coming back on 7th, but also out into the plaza of the ice park itself. This wouldn't allow anyone to be on the curling sheet or on the pond or ribbon of ice itself. It would actually just allow them to hang out in the plaza, watch what's going on. Clearly, we would strongly encourage that people don't consume alcohol before they skate on the ice rink. But one thing to note is that we may, in the future, a council may choose to want to have their own liquor license for the ice park to take advantage of some of the revenue generating capabilities of that. We would not serve that out of our concessions building. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little blue spot. That technically would be excluded from the social district so that we could take advantage of those economic opportunities of taking over the sale of alcohol ourselves. Not making a recommendation one way or another on that this evening, but leaving the door open so in the future we would have that area excluded out from the social district. The PSD, the DDA have both reviewed this. It was unanimously approved. It's great feedback by the downtown merchants. We've got a couple of merchants that are on the DDA that are actually members of one of those 19 social district restaurants, and it has had a significant positive experience on their sales. Moving through downtown, we think it's an opportunity for, again, whoever is providing that social district drink to have a more festive something that goes out the door in the wintertime, maybe a mulled cider or something warm, or you pick whatever it is. So this would require that the city council, and I'm looking to Vince for a little bit of advice just in case, and maybe Keith, if you could go back one slide, please, to adopt a resolution to amend that social district and the boundaries. And then we would actually have to make an ordinance amendment to allow for that alcohol to be in the park. And we would ask that that be adopted tonight because we will be opening next week. And the grand opening again, as hopefully everybody knows, is on the 14th at 2 o'clock. So with that, I think I've covered everything, but I'd be very happy to answer any questions that may come up.
Yeah. Mr. Freeman.
Matt, can you just unpack a little bit the play structure on the other side of that?
Yep. So correct. So that's the nature-based playground. Super popular, awesome with the kids all the time. This would not extend, if you can think of where the maintenance building is, where the Zamboni lives in the ice park, this would not extend past that maintenance building. We would actually stop it there, and we would sign that so that people wouldn't be able to go into the entirety of the window in the waterfront park.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Shea.
Thank you. My curiosity is just what has been the feedback from both public safety and then the DDA on the social district, the existing social district, and the impact on behaviors and activities thus far with the existing infrastructure?
So we talked to them quite a bit about this, and there were concerns voiced by council members, as well as our staff and PD when we did adopt the social district. Obviously, it's a much different time. We don't have issues with it. Our merchants do a very good job communicating with each other. If someone has been any has shown any kind of indication of being overserved in downtown, they actually have a little group messaging that they go around. Some of you may remember this, but downtown Holland isn't the place where you throw down a 30 rack of Busch Light and get rowdy. It's generally stroller beers. It's mom or dad. Keith's laughing at me over there. It's mom or dad walking around with a drink, or a group of young people. But it's really about the extent of it. From the DDA's perspective, as an economic driver, it's an advantage. If one of the restaurants in downtown can make 5% additional revenue in an afternoon because they're able to serve somebody that's not taking up a seat in the restaurant, and they're able to get that extra revenue, obviously that's a very positive thing for that business owner downtown. And I really think when you look statewide, these have been a positive impact for communities. We have a lot of visitors, we have a lot of tourists, but we also have a lot of people that live in Holland or in the area. Sometimes New Holland, quite frankly, has been 40-minute to an hour wait, right? On Friday or Saturday night. Well, I can walk into one of their neighbors that's a social district, and my wife and I can stroll while she spends way too much money. So it's just I think it's a positive for most people that want to have that, and I haven't seen it negatively affect other folks that don't want to participate, because we have great places for iced coffee and the other kind of beverages that maybe somebody may want.
Thank you. An additional thing is, I know that our really great DDA, Jeff Genova, I work downtown and I see him in the mornings picking stuff up. Is he getting out there an hour before I get there to pick up a bunch of cups or additional trash, or are we seeing any of that?
No, and quite frankly, our mayor may speak to this because he's quite often walking around downtown far before I'm out of bed. I will say that we don't. Sure, has a social district cup blown out of a trash can or been discarded by somebody that was, not a great visitor to our downtown? Sure. But I will tell you that on a busy summer Saturday, there's way more Peach Wave containers, not to pick on Peach Wave, overflowing the trash cans than there are social district cups.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions for staff? Yes, Mr. Schulteis.
A little bit more info on the emergency ordinance process. So I get it. Emergency ordinance allows it to take effect immediately. If we didn't use the emergency ordinance process, what would the process look like for an ordinance change?
I think I'll kick that one to Vince, and he can.
Sure, thanks. The emergency ordinance process requires an additional resolution identifying the emergency, usually a timing element. As long as 6 votes are obtained in favor, an ordinance proposed as an emergency by resolution is adopted. If less than 6 votes are obtained, the ordinance is still adopted so long as there's 5 votes in favor, because council has 9 members. So an ordinance could still be passed and effective with 5 votes, but it would not be an emergency. It would go through its normal process with publication and newspaper and become effective later in November, most likely, if it were passed with 5 votes tonight.
Is it, I think you touched on it at the end there. A normal ordinance change process would take about a month to get through. Is that?
Probably 2 more weeks. Okay. Yeah, maybe a couple of weeks. Like looking at Brenda, but there has to be there's a
21 days.
Yeah.
Thank you. What I'm getting at, the normal ordinance change process allows for more public engagement opportunities, correct? Emergency ordinance changes this meeting is the
it could be effective this meeting. A normal ordinance is presented at one meeting and then acted upon at the following meeting. So it's one less meeting potentially. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, Mr. Corbin? Okay.
A list of things. I would imagine you would expect me to have a list of things, but so I was just kind of curious. This was on a placeholder, and then it jumped to the agenda. I know it was on a placeholder, but I didn't know when it was going to jump to the agenda. So that's first and foremost. I just wondered if we have had adequate discussion on this in study sessions as a council of all the different reasonings of why we're doing this. That's more of a question of my colleagues than anything, because I just don't know that we had the adequate discussion on this particular topic. This is a big topic. So third is, I respect the DDA and PSA for making recommendations. They do that all the time. They make really good recommendations. However, I can see it's a compelling argument for their benefit. I mean, and I can see, Matt, you're making a very compelling argument for why it should, but there's others that have to make a compelling argument why we shouldn't. That's probably why I'm here today and why I'm discussing this a little bit more in depth. I heard you mention something of you mentioned a statement, quoting you, like, I think there will be some interest in this. It wasn't like a matter of fact that we've surveyed our community, we've asked questions, and this is really a desire by our community. It sounds like it's more of a DDA PSA, and the hope that it will draw some attention not only from our residents, but also other people that are visiting. And that's a good assumption, but it's not asking our community what they want. And I'm not sure we've actually done that. And I wonder why we're using an emergency ordinance on top of it to accelerate this into a discussion about changing an ordinance when we've had adequate time. We've been talking about this ice rink for a long time, And in my view, we haven't really talked in depth about why we're doing this or why we need this. So
I don't want to interrupt you, Scott, but do you have questions for staff? Because we don't have a motion on the floor yet for discussion.
So I guess there's multiple questions there. Two is, why an emergency ordinance? Why now? All of a sudden, do we have to do that? Have we surveyed our community? Do we know exactly what our community wants? And asking my colleagues, a third question of my colleagues, have we studied this subject enough in a study session to understand what we're actually doing here? So there's three questions. So I'll first let staff answer the first two.
Yep, so number one, you can blame me on the ordinance and the emergency ordinance. When we talked about it from a staff perspective and when we've had what I'd call informal conversations with you all, because we've had this conversation several times when we toured the ice park and different things. Expanding the social district alone is just an act by resolution, and it really, quite frankly, didn't dawn on any of us that it was also in a park, and it's the fact that it's in a park that is the ordinance change. So just hold me accountable for that one. I missed it, and then that's why we're kind of in this. What I will stand by, that it seems that it made sense to us to recommend an emergency ordinance so that it's in alignment when the ice park is open. And I'll let you guys debate that and make that decision. No, we didn't survey residents or others when we've made social district changes in the past either, so I don't think it dawned on us. I will say, not scientifically, but we've had we've had lots of tours and lots of talks about the ice rinks for several years, and it is I would say it's a common question slash, and I don't want to overstate it, common question and encouragement that it was something that people have asked for, but not a scientific process. And I think those are the two. I think the third thing you mentioned is really for you all to discuss.
Yeah, and let's hold that. Let's hold that till we have a motion on the floor.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Rowan.
Thank you for staff, and this might catch you off guard, but I seem to recall we did have some sort of a study session that spoke to some of these topics about expanding the social district and floating. It's not in front of us now about where's the line for serving beverages and things like that, or alcoholic beverages. Did we not have a study session on this at one point? And if you recall approximately when?
I will leave that for your discussion. In my recollection, we've had many conversations about the ice rink and have toured the ice rink. And I think in most of those broad conversations, this topic has been referenced.
I just remember an energetic conversation where there was differing opinions, and rightly so. But to your comment, Mr. Corbin, I think that there has been some level of discussion among us. Not always in agreement, but I think it has been at least discussed. I don't know if it's been something that we sort of put out to our constituency and requested specific feedback on. I think in our travels through the discussion about the ice rink, I do recall that this has been at least hinted at, in my recollection, about expansion of the social district where it might make sense. And I agree that there have been many, many informal conferences, comments when we were touring. So my personal recollection is that it's been out there a little bit. And I do remember that there was a difference of opinions. Nothing was resolved. It was just, okay, a discussion for another day.
And may I respond to that?
Go ahead.
Just to respond to that, I agree. There has been some very informal mentions of alcohol or expansion of the social district to include the ice park. That does not substitute the opportunity for us to have a rigorous debate in a study session about it, pros and cons, as well as the public having an opportunity to speak on the issue. And this does not really allow for that, other than we will have some public comment, but like I said, just a very quick turnaround of it being a placeholder on the agenda to being on the agenda for actually a vote, and an emergency vote at that. So for me, I don't believe we had adequate discussion on this issue to really convey everyone's concerns or interest about this issue.
Okay. Do you have any?
And then let me also add, you continue to suggest we should have a motion on the table before we have vigorous debate, and I disagree, because if we don't have, if it's on the agenda, that's true. Part of this asking the questions and asking questions of my colleagues is that we may not want to vote to have it on the agenda. And so we can not make a motion or second, and it dies.
I just want to make sure that we stay within Robert's rules, that we have that discussion if there's a motion on the floor.
If there's a motion.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're not pushing a motion on.
I'm not pushing a motion, I'm trying to hold back discussion on the issue until there's a motion on the floor. Yes. Yeah. Any other questions for staff at this point? All right. Is there a motion?
I would motion that we do have a study session, preferably our soonest available if possible, to discuss this further and table the question at hand.
I'll support that.
So I think the
Did I do
motion
that
is to table. Yeah, motion, I think the motion would be to table the issue. All right. We've got a motion and a second to table.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Yes.
I support it.
All right. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Schulteis.
I think we have several options to go about this. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, or Scott, if tabling the item requires formal action to remove from the table, which it seems like it might be an unnecessary step in this. I'm just thinking through if tabling is the right thing that we want to do.
So tabling does require a motion to remove it from the table. Postponing would bring it back again. Mr. Van Beek, I think, is going to provide some clarification.
Actually, in your rules, a motion to table shall be, a motion support shall be voted on without debate.
Rule
All right.
4.
Thank you.
4.4.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Edit
Thank
undo.
you.
I think
Edit
to
undo.
Mr. Schulteis' point is about Robert's Rules of Order. Whether it's postponement or tabling is the appropriate thing.
I did both things.
Okay.
Party foul.
Oh, that's
Okay.
All right.
But we do have a motion to table on the floor. No debate. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Rowan,
No.
Shay,
Yes.
Schulteis,
No.
Freeman,
No.
Raymond,
No.
Corbin,
Yes.
Mayor Box?
No.
Motion fails.
All right. So, motion to table fails. Does anyone else have a motion in regard to this item?
Move to approve.
Is that by Raymond? A motion by Raymond to approve. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Rowan. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Corbin?
So I'll just read from here some things I drafted out and wanted to speak to on this issue. So make sure that fully the public understands my point of view on this. So as we continue to evaluate and discuss the future of Holland Community Ice Skating Park, it is important to ground our decisions in a clear intent of the donors, the messaging shared with the public, and the funding framework that brought this project to life. The park exists today because of the vision and generosity of individuals who believed in creating a safe, accessible, and joyful space for our residents, particularly our children and families. Frank Cry, retired Holland educator and lead donor, said, quote unquote, one of the wonderful experiences in life is to skate in the winter when it's cold and the fellowship it creates. It's another way to encourage people to enjoy their town, patronize their stores and restaurants, and create memories. He also shared, quote unquote, there's no place I love more than Holland. The thing I think I could make Holland even better is having the activity that people can do downtown in the outdoors in the winter. At the groundbreaking, he added, quote unquote, I shiver with joy. I hope to live 2 more years so I can put my own skates on, which we know that's not going to happen. The Juris family, with their $1 million gift, emphasizes their wish to build upon the initial gift and support a permanent outdoor skating facility for all to enjoy. I want to express my deep gratitude and appreciation to all the donors who contributed so generously to this project, especially Mr. Frank Cry, who initiated these donations and remained committed over several years to ensure that this park came to conception. His vision inspired others to join in support and make this long-standing dream a reality in Holland. At no point in the donor statements, press releases, or public agreements was alcohol distribution identified. Their consistent theme was to create a safe, friendly-oriented gathering space where children and adults alike could enjoy in the tradition of skating. The city itself has consistently described this project as a family-centered terms. The City of Holland's webpage calls the rink a welcoming, quote-unquote, welcoming, vibrant, and year-round community destination where memories are made and stories are told. The city further explains, to be a good steward of Frank's gift, we have conducted a public engagement and design workshop to seek community input and support this vision. Again, they said also the design plans highlight family-oriented features and would include an ice rink with a connected ribbon and a separate curling rink. There will be a skate rentals, concessions, and restrooms. The plaza gathering will have snow melt and 3 fireplaces to keep the visitors warm. Mayor Nathan Box reinforced his vision. He said it will be much more than just an sheet of ice. It will be a true community gathering place with somewhere for everyone. Speaking about comfort for parents and grandparents, Mayor also noted we're going to have glass garage doors, and we're going to come down and that are going to come down and break the wind so parents and grandparents can stand in a warm environment with their kids and their grandkids out there skating. These official statements reinforce the intent was always to create a safe, accessible, family-friendly environment, never to include or induce alcohol sales as a core feature. The ice park was funded through public and private partnership with both philanthropic and government support. Those come in the form of $5.4 million, $2.1 million from the American Rescue Plan, again, government dollars, $2 million of City of Holland Capital Improvement Funds, government dollars, $800,000 State of Michigan Revitalization and Placemaking Grant, government dollars, $500,000 in Local Development Finance Authority and Smart Zone funds, $500,000, and then some more from MEDCH Public Spaces and Community Places as a match. Private contributors also 1.6 from Frank Cry, $1 million from the Juris family, and $3.5 from other philanthropy foundations and community crowdfunding. Total project of $11.1 million. From the earliest discussion, council was informed that this park would be designed to be financially self-sustaining, and that's true, and that it would serve as a year-round attraction, drawing families and visitors from across the community and beyond to enjoy the ability to skate in Holland. More importantly, there was no mention by the City Council or the staff of introducing alcohol as part of the project's vision or operations. While there were occasional conversations talking points about the need for creative ways to support long-term revenues, alcohol sales were never presented, suggested, or endorsed as one of those strategies. It is also important to note while the City of Holland does permit alcohol at certain licensed facilities or special events under controlled permits, none of our public parks within the city or adjacent townships allow alcohol as a matter of policy or practice. The intent of the donors, the city, and the City Council has always been a private, safe, family-focused environment for skating and gathering. Throughout its development, the project was consistently described to the news media as the the city, and the city communication as a park. Headlines cover this from Fox 17, the Sentinel Lakeshore. We've said it over and over again. Even our own webpage says that it's a Holland Community Ice Skating Park. Even promotional campaigns describe it as a park intended to activate underutilized green space and create community gathering spaces. In contrast, only occasionally was it referred to as a facility or rink, mostly in construction updates or technical reporting. This demonstrates that both the branding and the public reception of this project overwhelmingly emphasize the role of a park, a community space for families, recreation, and memory making. To now reframe it as a facility where alcohol sales are expected and would be inconsistent with the narrative that was shared with the donors, the public, and the council throughout the planning process. The vision behind the donations of public funding was never a question: to provide safe, permanent, and welcoming space for skaters during the winter months, and to create a gathering space for enhancing downtime vibrancy while offering families, children, and visitors a way to build lasting memories in Holland. As a council, our role is to continue stewardship in this vision, respecting the donors' original intent and significant public investment made by our residents, and the trust placed in us to ensure this park remains space where community, safety, and fellowship thrive. And I will be voting no on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Any other discussion? Ms. Rowan, then Mr. Shea, then Mr. Schulteis.
Thank you. I have a few points. I don't know the donor's original intent when it comes to whether or not the vision of alcohol on the premises, sold on the premises, merely near the premises. I don't know what that intent was. I think that's an inference that's not quite clear from the quotes that Mr. Corbin read. I would also emphasize the fact that our city hosts a great many safe, family-oriented events in our downtown, and some of those are in the social district. We host parades. One of them is coming up in a month. I don't know that we have any information that those family-oriented events are compromised by the mere presence of alcohol or the mere presence of them being hosted in the area of the downtown social establishment, social district. So I would beg to differ that one forebodes the other. A safe, family-oriented event can take place in the social district and has for several years. And then lastly, I would suggest that Mr. Corbin mentioned that the long-term vision that you read out for the park by the donor, the primary donor, it may not have mentioned the presence of alcohol, but I don't think that it emphasized the prohibition of alcohol or the presence of alcohol anywhere near the park. I think that, again, is an inference that's being drawn to make a point, and validly so. Mr. Corbin can make his point, but I don't know that it necessarily means the opposite, that because it was silent on that, it doesn't mean that it wasn't intended, nor was the prohibition of it also intended by the statements that you read. Thank you.
Mr. Shea.
Thank you. I just want to say, I personally am in favor of expanding the social district into the park, but what I don't feel comfortable with is the emergency ordinance change. I really respect Mr. Corbin's point about getting feedback from the public. I also really appreciate how convenient and slick it would be to have this in place when we open this ice park. It would be super slick and convenient, and I know that this is probably kind of a headache. But despite that, I do think that I think we should give the public a bit more of a chance to discuss these things. So thank you.
Mr. Schulteis.
Thank you, Mayor. I think similar to Councilman Shea, my going in position is that expanding the social district is going to be okay at this point. I feel it's my personal opinion. I somewhat take exception to the emergency ordinance process for this. I think it'd be strategically ideal, absolutely, but I don't think that it's vital to the opening of the ice park to have this in place. We wouldn't delay opening of the ice park if this weren't in place. It wouldn't impact that. So I think that we have time to gauge some more opinion and have some more discussion on it. So I'll be voting no.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond.
I had a follow-up question. So we are doing when I moved to approve this, I intended to do both. Did I? Okay.
Yeah, that was the motion I heard. That-
Yep,
It was
yep,
the only,
that's what
it
I
was the only
intended to
thing
do.
presented.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, to expand the boundary and do the emergency ordinance. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, while I do understand what you're saying about the emergency ordinance, if we're expanding the social district boundary anyway, if we approve that, then what we're doing then is delaying the ordinance change for 2 weeks. And, I don't have any idea how that would turn out. But it would seem odd to expand the social boundary and not do the ordinance. So if we're going to do the ordinance anyway, it seems like this is the most efficient way to do that. It seems like, does that make sense? I mean, that's sort of where my mind is going, because we've
I'm a
already
little
expanded
confused.
the social, if we expand the social district, but they're not allowed to go into the park, then it's almost moot, because the idea is to draw people to the park. Which takes me to another question I had, sorry, is the park thing. That is a little bit of a question for me, in that we don't allow alcohol in any other park. So if you could just talk a little bit more about that, that would be great.
Yeah, go ahead, Vince. I mean, we do, and with request.
Right, yeah, alcohol in parks is available by permit under the ordinance.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's also, under our criminal code ordinance, 20-325,
Yeah.
generally prohibits possession of alcohol, consumption of alcohol in any public park unless by permit under section 2210. And so the 2210 speaks about the permitting process. The social district is an exception to the permitting process. So that's thus the need for the
I see.
Ordinance amendment, because the permitting process under 2210 did not, it was silent to social district, and it really didn't need to be before this, because no social district was in a park. This potentially in a park, 2210 would then need to be adjusted or amended to be an exception really to prosecution under 20-3. So I'm not trying to get too complicated,
No,
but
I understand.
that's that was the reason for recommending the ordinance amendment. But I agree with Mr. Van Beek. The social district and its boundaries are not established by ordinance; they're established by resolution. So there are potentially conceptually two different things, but they are intertwined, as you mentioned.
I see.
Mr. Freeman.
Just a couple, comments in that, Mr. Corbin, when you had presented your dialogue, one of the things you had said that alcohol was a core feature of the ice park, and I would just disagree with that. Ice skating is the core feature of the ice park, and then socializing would be the second. And I think social district would be 7, 8, 10, 15. Way down the list. I think it's enhancing our entire downtown as we've been talking about this as a city council. In that, we are not approving the sale of alcohol as well as part of this motion. If I understand it correctly, that will come later in another discussion, I would assume. It could.
We haven't made that decision, and I'm going to make one other comment, but you kind of asked a question.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to advertise that alcohol would be part of something if we haven't presented it to it and you made the decision to extend it as being part of something.
Understand. And then I just think lastly, I sense that we have a responsibility if we have something that's burning in us, and we've talked about that. The opening of the ice park has been, we have all been aware of the timing of the ice park for months. In that if we have something that is in our craw to get talked about, I think we have a responsibility to one another, to our constituents, to bring those things up. And not at the 11th hour. And I feel this is an 11th hour at the magnitude by which you brought that up tonight. And I feel that's unfortunate because I feel like we have all had numerous times of touring the ice park, discussing the ice park, multiple presentations where that has been part of our conversation. With that knowledge also comes responsibility. If we have concerns or issues financially, food, any of it, we should bring those things up to one another, to this council, to get them on study agendas or agendas on council meetings themselves. And so with that, I think I would like to see us open the ice park in the most positive way possible. And I would sense that we would open the social district going forward in the days to come. I'd like to see us do that when we open.
Can I respond?
Certainly. Mr. Corbin.
Thank you. So it isn't the 11th hour for me, and I don't know who hasn't heard me say I'm not in favor of alcohol in parks, and let alone within this particular park. I've said this multiple times, and I'm being respectful here, but kind of dismissive of me saying that, like, well, it needs to happen, right? And I've asked for those opportunities to speak with us as a council on this on several occasions, to include our city manager. You know, I've mentioned it multiple times.
Microphone.
I mentioned this multiple times at different times, that we need to have bigger discussions or broader discussions about this. So I wouldn't say that I'm coming to the 11th hour, but when it's on the agenda for tentatively to be put on the agenda, and then it bounces to the agenda, we have had no study session or council meetings in between to really say, hey, it shouldn't be on the agenda, it should be on a study session. And when I can't have that discussion like I just did with my comment while waiting for a motion, it makes it very difficult to set the tone of what I'm thinking here. So I'm doing my best to fall within the rules of the board and not to engage every one of you separately in emails or discussions when we shouldn't be doing that. We should be doing it collectively together. I've expressed as much as I could without violating those rules, and that I wasn't real happy with the direction we were going with this. And my statement was a collection of all those different ideas and thoughts I've had for a while now, and this is the only opportunity I've had to really share it with you.
Mr. Van Beek.
Yeah, just two things if I could. And to do this procedurally. No ill will. Just a reminder, in that most recent conversation, and we've had this conversation, sometimes I request, and I'm going to reiterate that again, someone comes to me and says, I want to put this on a study agenda, and I'm going to say it this way when I know that if I would say I'm counting noses, because this has been something that has been talked about, and I dare say that I know in the end I've had pretty strong, like 8-1. We think this is a good idea. At that point, then I turn it back to all of you. So I just want to reiterate, that's not someone asked me and then I put it on the agenda. That's not the way that it works. So, and I don't think Scott's saying that, so I don't want to debate that back and forth, but it's kind of a reminder back for all of you, so that I'm not caught in the middle of that.
May I respond to that?
Yeah.
Keith, you've done a very good job of not, you've said, look, your colleagues have to do this, and I've expressed that as Mayor Pro Tem.
Cool.
I've always, in governance officer, I've also talked with all of you and say, if we need to put something on the study session or on the agenda, we need to have that discussion very openly between us. I've been trying to be very candid, and like I said, not to be rude or anything, but it's been kind of dismissive in the fact that maybe I'm not agreeing with all of you on this, and that's fine, but let's move on. And I hopefully, I'm trying to express myself here that I've made my statement, and that's fine, wherever way this vote goes on this particular issue, or whether we go back for a discussion. I think it's about the procedural aspect of this, and letting all of us have that adequate debate that we all deserve. And there will be an issue that you might want equally to have a debate on that your colleagues think we shouldn't have. So I'm doing my best to try and fall within the rules of the board, making sure we're having an adequate discussion. And this is not just about me. This is about, like I said, to me, I think, especially the emergency ordinance side of this, it's been mentioned several times, how much of this has been public to the rest of the community and that what we're doing. And I'm not sure that that's been adequately done. And I think everyone has, yes, we've had two different organizations that have a vested interest in downtown and their businesses. I get that, I understand that, and they've weighed in on it, but how many other people weighed in on this?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Beek and then Ms. Raymond.
Yep, and then I was also going to say, and I feel uncomfortable saying this, but I feel like I really need to, and it's substantive information I think you should know. Both Matt and I think at this point have done almost innumerable discussions with people, including, I would say, a large percentage of the donors, and in particular the higher level donors. Because quite frankly, that fell largely on me to have those conversations and have multiple conversations. And while I'm not going to say there was ever a discussion of, we're thinking about doing this, can you say yes or no, you like it or not, I will say with pretty strong confidence that every donor of significant contribution, this was part of the conversation that we had with them. So I don't think any of those donors were unaware of the possibility, and I don't recall any of them having a negative reaction to it being a part of, and I get it, I just need to share that information because Matt and I have had countless conversations with groups and individuals about this. Again, not scientific, but that's the information that I would share.
Ms. Raymond.
Forgot what I was going to say. I think in response to your concern, Scott, there have been certainly plenty of times over the last 6 years when I have wanted to talk about something and nobody else does, and that's just the way it goes. It's just not important enough for everybody else. So I appreciate the fact that you feel very strongly about this, but if I don't necessarily believe that if it's one person, then we put it on a study session agenda to discuss it. So I think that would, I think that it is unfortunate that we don't have the time to do that, but I think that for me that was the case, because for me this is not an issue. I think expanding the social district makes sense. I think it creates an atmosphere. It just adds to the atmosphere. I don't think it takes away from the atmosphere. I think the idea that somehow families can't enjoy themselves when there are people with alcohol around that doesn't make any sense to me. So I am perfectly confident. I am not I am maybe not equally uncomfortable with the fact that it's an emergency ordinance, but I understand why we got to why we're where we are. And so I feel comfortable moving forward with both of these. But yeah, I just wanted to.
Any other discussion? Just a couple of quick comments. I actually think this discussion is healthy for this board. I really do. And Scott, I hope that you don't think that I'm being dismissive of your opinion on this. I'm very, very clear and very aware of your strong feelings on this, and I respect those. I definitely do. We don't have these kinds of discussions that often, I think, because we are very collegial on this board and talk about things and are aware of things. And I think this is exactly what this board needs to do every now and then, is to go, hey, somebody thinks that this is really important. Let's have that conversation. And while it may have been frustrating that I made you wait until we got into this portion of it, this is exactly why this needs to happen this way. And I think it works the way that it should. I really do. And I do really respect your opinion and your feelings on this, but I also agree. I know I've had countless conversations about this issue, not only with staff, but with other members of council during those visits to the ice park. I've had conversations with members of the public. I've had conversations with donors. I'm not going to try to crawl inside the head of any particular donor about what they might think or what they might not think. But I kind of fall along the line of what Lynn Raymond was just saying, which is I think that this will enhance the experience for some. I don't think that it will take away from the experience for many. There may be some folks who are not interested in seeing alcohol down at the ice park or anywhere downtown or anywhere at all, and I understand that and get that completely. But the social district currently extends, I believe, to almost right across the street from where the ice park is right now. And is that a good argument for extending it into the ice park? Not necessarily, but I think for a member of the public to walk from downtown to across the street, and then I think the expectation is that that's going to be something that's going to be included in that. But that's all I have to say, and I'm guessing you have some response to that.
Yeah,
Yep.
response to you. Thank you. And understand, this is not my feelings. This is about process. This is about understanding whether we've got full support by our community. And I'm hearing from my community, at least my constituents, that maybe we haven't thought through this very well. Have we talked about this long enough? And I can't honestly say we've had, as with my colleagues. So this is not as much about feelings for me as much as it is about the process and making sure we're doing the right thing. And I know it sounds like today, there's been a lot of conversations and about this with donors and other constituents. I don't know that I've heard that level of transparency with us, or at least with me, that those things were happening behind closed doors. I've heard some discussions about some people interested in it, but I didn't know it was to that level, that degree that you guys are suggesting today. And I don't know if that was shared with me. So what I'm saying is, this is more about process for me, not about feelings. This is not whether I'm for or against alcohol. This is about, when you look at, you said adjacent, right across the street, it aligns right up with it. We can say that about a lot of places. And how far are we going to extend this, or how far are we going to add to this district or throughout the city? So for me, it's just about making sure we fully understand where we're going with this and what we're doing with it. So thank you.
Yep. And to that point, well done, because I think we've had a good discussion about this evening. So yeah, well done, Scott. Any other discussion? Brenda, would you please call the roll? Motion, do you want clarification on the motion? So I believe that the motion on the floor is to approve the recommendation of staff in both regard to the resolution and the emergency ordinance. So a yes vote is for both of those. And can we do those both as one, Vince? Now that we've got this far, I probably should have asked that question earlier.
That's what I was clarifying. That's why I asked.
Sure, you did clarify that with him, and that's okay. Okay.
It's not that we're stuck doing it that way. That is the motion.
That is the motion that's on the floor.
That's correct.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Are we good? We're good to vote on the two together, correct, Vince? We have to?
That's the motion that was
That's the
made.
motion. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Shay,
No.
Schulteis,
No.
Freeman,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Corbin, Rowan,
Yes.
Mayor Box,
Yes.
Four yes, three no. Mr. Duckworth, what number did we need to?
Nothing passes.
Yeah, you need at least 5 votes to take action, so the motion failed for not getting 5, and the motion further failed as an emergency measure for not getting 6 votes, to the extent an aspect of it was a request for emergency action on an ordinance. So neither the resolution expanding the boundaries nor the ordinance passed with that vote.
Mr. Van Beek?
At risk of being chided, if you don't do anything now, you're not starting any clock.
All right. So I will ask the question, and it's up to council as to whether there is another motion that council would like to make on this agenda item before we move on.
Explain.
Go ahead, Vince.
Under the charter, any ordinance needs to be first and a second reading. So an ordinance is first presented at a first reading, and then you must wait 2 weeks for the second reading before that ordinance can be voted on. The exception is unless it's voted on by emergency resolution, then you don't need to wait the 2 weeks. So you could, I guess, theoretically accept an ordinance for first reading to allow it to be considered in 2 weeks at a second reading. But in the same token, but the resolution, there is no 2-week requirement for resolution. The resolution is simply considered when it's presented. So I don't know if that helps.
And then
Almost.
I think you also, Vince, it's first and second reading, but then even at the second reading, then there's a period of time before it would take effect, correct?
Correct.
I mean, now you could approve for first reading tonight for 2 weeks to have second reading, but then I'm just preparing you, then you have another decision. At that point, does it take immediate effect in 2 weeks, or then do you typically have an additional run-out time after the second reading before it takes effect? And again, this is only for the
Ordinance portion.
the transfer effect that the social none of this for a social district is required. It's just that it happens to be in a park. Clear as punch?
I believe Mr. Schulteis has a question, and then we'll get to you, Scott.
Yeah, so I think we're picking up what you're putting down. Vince, is the redlined ordinance that's included in the package, I believe the answer is going to be yes, written in a manner that it can be presented as a first reading instead of an emergency ordinance. There is an attachment in the package that is clearly about adopting an emergency ordinance. But if I go just to the clean pages or the red line version of the ordinance change, does that satisfy a first reading?
Yes, it is presented as a proposed ordinance amendment. The emergency component is actually another written document that is a resolution. So the ordinance could stand on its own as a proposed ordinance. It's really that resolution that also enables that ordinance to be considered and passed on an emergency basis. There's nothing in the ordinance language itself that says emergency. It's the resolution that's layered on top of that makes it emergency.
But as you mentioned, Vince, you mentioned that the ordinance does not allow for the social district to exist. You cannot get a permit you can get a permit for a park, but not for the social district because it's not mentioned in the ordinance. Correct?
You're correct. It's not an exception under 2210. It is a gray area. I'll say it this way. State law allows municipalities to declare social district, and you can do that. State law allows us to regulate our own lands and our own streets, which we do. We have another ordinance in place that says no alcohol in parks. If we adopt a resolution that says social district and also this portion of a park, that is potentially inconsistent with another portion of our law.
Correct.
So is it
Can I ask
illegal?
it- can I
What
ask it a
it
different
could
way?
be is, it could be an issue, and because state law may trump, state law authorizes social districts, there could be, there's a gray area. as
And
to
so the reason I'm
keep- yeah.
asking the question, and just to follow up on the question, is that we're talking about adding a first reading, and we haven't even talked about that. And so we're gonna be in first reading after, while we're gonna open it up for discussion right after the first reading, right? We open it up to discussion with.
There's no motion on the
No
table,
motion.
so you guys, I'm giving you the implications of the decision-making that you can or can't make, so that you don't unintentionally or intentionally set a direction from a policy perspective that you all understand what you're doing and you do what you want to do.
I think if I can summarize, I
Yeah.
think like a good question.
Mr.
that'll help.
Schulteis and then Mr. Shea.
Vince, if we pursued the first reading of the ordinance change that's presented, does that motion have to be accompanied by the resolution for the social district, or can they be separated?
They can be separated, does not have to be accompanied, but.
Okay. Mr. Shea.
Forgive me for throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall here to see if it sticks. Could we
That's the way to do it.
have an emergency ordinance change at our next meeting be moved so that we could, in the meantime, in a study session and at public comment, have an opportunity to hear from the public and then be able to put that into motion and into action immediately?
Any ordinance can be an emergency if it has the appropriate resolution saying it's an emergency and secures 6 votes. So even an ordinance that starts as I would say a general, like a normal ordinance, right? That it goes from first reading to second. At any time, it can be identified by this council as one that the council can adopt on an emergency basis with the appropriate.
Feels like a way to
resolution.
have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Mr.
Yeah.
Van Beek.
I guess, let me reframe it, because I'm hearing, you can tell us this is what we're trying to accomplish, and we can, and you can understand what you'd be voting on tonight, or we prepare for you in a future meeting, and we can prepare it to accomplish what you want. That being, we never do this, to we expand the social district, but it's not in a park, to that we expand the social district and it's in a park, and it's first reading tonight or next time, and second reading at a date after that, and then immediate effect at second reading, or a time period after the second reading before it takes effect. Really, what I would suggest, I think everyone understands, is are you eventually going to take a vote to expand the social district or not, that it's in a park, and then you just need to decide how many readings do you want or not want that are attached to an emergency or not attached to an emergency, which really gets down to how often do you want to talk about it, have the public possibly know about it and give you feedback, in how many different meetings, and then when would it take effect if you have the number of votes to have it take effect.
Just go ahead.
Mr. Schulteis and then Mr. Shea.
Yeah, I know what I want to do, if I can formulate a motion, and it's, if you can help me formulate a motion, right, you're offering your services, thank you. What I would like to do is follow the normal ordinance change process and timeline. So I would like to be able to start the clock, so if that's the first read, like make a motion on the first reading now, and then we can have the normal notifications for an ordinance change go out, and then at the next opportunity at a meeting, make a final decision on the ordinance change and the social district. That's the motion I would like to formulate.
And just another question in that, would that take immediate effect that evening, or would it have additional time after you took that before it would actually take effect?
Shortest allowable under normal ordinance change rules. As long as I'm not crossing into emergency ordinance, that's the motion I would like to develop.
So because there's not a motion, Vince, I'm having a conversation with you.
I'll allow it for a moment.
Thank you. So I think what that would mean is that I think we have enough understanding of a first reading tonight. Or you'd say, I'm not comfortable with that, prepare a first reading, so it would be in 2 weeks. And then, I'm not sure, Brenda, if we could have a second reading if it's tonight in 2 weeks, because I don't think we meet the timelines to have a second reading within 2 weeks. Or could we have the second reading 2 weeks from tonight?
I think we can.
Okay.
The one we just did for elections was the same.
Okay,
same
so first reading you could either have tonight, and then you'd have a second reading in 2 weeks, or you could have a first reading in 2 weeks, and then it would be 2 weeks after that. And then, Vince, could they take the first reading now that it would take immediate effect upon second reading? Or the way Mr. Schultheis asked is what's normal, and that's always an interesting term. We've done it multiple different ways. We've done things as an emergency, we've done things taking immediate effect on second reading, or we've done things that it takes effect at a date in the future. So I guess, Michael, what I'd say is, why don't you just define when a motion so everyone else can vote on it when it would take effect? Because I don't think there is a normal.
Can I say?
Ms. Raymond.
Mike, if it had come to you tonight, going through the normal ordinance, not an emergency ordinance, would that have changed do you think you would have looked at this differently?
I think it's going to allow time to look at it differently, with opportunity for others to reach out to me.
So then what we would change is that we would still vote on the expanding the social district, and then voting tonight for first reading on the ordinance, and then in 2 weeks the second reading, and then at the second reading we can decide whether or not we want to go, right? I mean, do we need to know that ahead of time? If we want to do that in emergency, it seems like it doesn't make.
You're kind of looking at me there, Lynn. What I would recommend, because the issue is what are you communicating to the public and what is, I would strongly encourage you tonight, if you take action, to also include, depending on what you do, when would it take effect?
Okay, so it feels like people are not comfortable, at least this is what I'm feeling about it. Several of us are not comfortable with the emergency notion, so just take that off the table entirely. And so then it would be, and then it would.
Anybody can make a motion at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to see that happen. I'd love to see it happen, go into effect immediately at our second reading. If that doesn't that's not emergency.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
Maybe I can you know, there might be some more research that we need to look at. I mean, Brenda and I, we operate generally in this 21-day rule. The city charter has the 21-day time period for effectiveness of ordinances that impose a penalty. I don't think 2210 itself imposes a penalty. 20-3 does. So I wish I had a better legal answer for you, but there could be an opportunity for council to identify in a normal ordinance adoption that's not an emergency, an effective date that complies with charter. And that's what I would like to look at.
But that would not prevent us from starting the process right now, right?
Correct. You can start the process now. You can do it in emergency the next meeting, or you can identify a date specific potentially. But
Okay.
I would like to look at the penalty aspect, because if there is a penalty at all, it really is a 21-day time period under charter.
But again, that would not prevent us from starting a process now on a first reading and finding out that answer at a second reading and making a determination to move forward at that point.
Or you could just adopt an emergency ordinance because you basically said, here's our intention
Yes.
when it would take effect.
Okay, all right. What's the pleasure of council?
I have a motion.
Mr. Schulteis, please.
Motion to adopt first reading of the amendment to section 2210 is included in the agenda.
Motion by Schulteis, is there support?
Support.
Support by Shea. Any discussion?
Are we not including the social district expansion in that motion?
Appears not. Mr. Corbin?
Is the intent by this council to have further discussions at a study session in between? Or not? And make sure there's an agenda with public comment being available?
I would find it sufficient to reach out to constituents over the next 2 weeks and invite them to a study session, our study session next week, to share their concerns as they can share with on any topic. And then also, same goes for our next formal business meeting is, a formal opportunity.
And we have public comment at cityofholland.com as well. Yes, Ms. Raymond.
Why are we not including the social district expansion? Why did you not include that? Can I ask him that? Can I ask you that?
Yeah,
We're
it's
in
part of the
we're
discussion.
discussion on the motion, right?
Discussion on the motion. Yes, she's.
You know how I feel about that.
She's
portion,
asking
right?
you. Yes, she's asking you a question in regard to your motion.
Yeah, so I think ultimately what we're doing is buying time to a final decision anyway. So I'm okay. The motion I made absent of that intentionally, so that we're starting the clock, we're getting public notice on the topic out first, buying time to gather information from the public to make a decision later on.
Okay. I mean, I think that there's reason to expand the social district apart from the park.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I agree with
So
you.
it feels like we could get that piece of it done with this
Could that
evening.
motion be made after this?
Sure, probably, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, intentionally not included
Okay.
because I don't want to decide on the expansion until after the notices are made, so that I can gather potentially more information and feedback.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion for first reading of the ordinance as presented? No. All right. Seeing none, Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Schulteis,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Corbin,
Yes.
Rowan,
Yes.
Shea,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Was there another motion that you wanted to make in this
I would
regard,
like
Ms.
to move
Raymond?
to expand the social district.
Support.
Got motion and support. Any discussion on the expansion of the social district?
You're good. You're good, Led.
Can I ask for clarification? If you expand it as presented, it would go into the park and you can't do it.
Okay, at some point, somebody said we could do them separately. So that's why.
You can do them separately, but we saying, excuse me, we can do them separately, but the outcome is what he's talking about, what
Yeah.
the outcome would that would be.
That you have an expanded social
So
district that
you
with,
could expand the social district as presented minus the window on the waterfront ice park, which I'm not,
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I think I was thinking about it more broadly and long-term, like, let's just get it done, because at some point, we're gonna expand the social district to Sixth Street. So I was just thinking, let's just do it as part of this process. But if it complicates it, I can rescind my motion. I'm cool with that.
Is there a process for rescinding?
yes, there is a process for rescinding a motion. You're interested in rescinding your motion,
I
but
will
they need
rescind
to
my
have the
motion.
second be willing to do that as well.
I would.
All right, so,
I don't want to, this has gotten muddy.
Yeah.
all right.
I think Lynn's effort is to try to, like, resolve something tonight. I think there were several people who were uncomfortable with the emergency nature of the motion. I'm hoping that we resolve some of that with declaring this to have been a first reading. And Lynn was trying to get something done, as was I. If you choose to rescind your motion, I will likely, I will likewise rescind my support as well, so we
I
can
will.
remove that.
All right.
Yeah, I'll rescind it.
Uncomplicated.
That motion is then off the table. Any other motions on this particular item? Seeing none, we will then move on to item 12, Echo 6.1, gifts. Brenda, would you please review the gifts for us?
The city manager's office is pleased to report the following gift: a donation of $500 from Thomas Grasco for the beautification of and programming at Windmill Island Gardens. It's recommended the donation be accepted with appreciation, credited to the appropriate account, and an expression of gratitude be forwarded to the donor.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the gifts?
Move to receive those gifts and express our gratitude to the donors.
Moved by Freeman, is there support?
Support.
Support by Raymond. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12, Echo 6.2, City of Holland Emergency Management Plan Update. Mr. Van Beek.
thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm going to ask Captain Chris Tinney to come up here. And we've been at it for a while. I'll give you overview, and then Chris can plug in. This is what I would call administrative in nature, but very important administrative in nature. The work that we are called on to do for the safety of our community is cornerstone to what we do. And I very much appreciate particularly the leadership of Captain Tinney in doing this for a long time in coordination with a lot of experts in the field, both from Allegan County and Ottawa County. I know that you have the information in your packet, and it includes the 88-page plan that Chris probably would be able to kind of give you an overview of everything that's in the plan, even though he's not in front of it right now. So, Chris, why don't you come up, though, and talk about, in particular, kind of the red line of what is in front of council and what you're asking for support tonight.
Will, thank you. What you're going to see in front of you and what the report contains is just an abbreviated summary of some of the changes that were made to the document. Again, purely administrative. We didn't do anything really radical here. We did clarify some language as far as the mayor's role in appointing the emergency management coordinator, as well as the emergency management liaison. We've also clarified the emergency contingency fund, which I hate to admit, was not clarified very well in the past. We worked with our finance director. We clarified that, and it was in the ordinance. I believe Mr. Duckworth did find language in our city charter to clarify that. We've looked at the annexes, and now annexes are the individual responsibilities of each department. And I want to tell you, every department in the city has a role in this plan. This plan is an all-hazards approach to dealing with emergencies in the city, whether it's weather, fire, water, whatever it is. This plan pulls every bit of resource we have in the city into a concerted effort to protect lives and property. So we've looked at basically, we've updated an emergency support function plan. We've tried to coordinate. FEMA actually uses what we call emergency support functions. We tried to coordinate our annexes with those functions to provide some interoperability with our county EMs. So we've done a lot of that, basically updated contact information, clarified roles and responsibilities that we may not do anymore or added them. Looked pretty close at our human services components in here, making sure that we have the right contacts and so on in there. So in general, just a basic update. We've clarified some things as far as statutory requirements. And again, the city of Holland is required to have this plan because we have a population over 10,000, but we're also required to either appoint an emergency management coordinator for a population over 25,000, or we need to appoint Allegan or Ottawa emergency managers to do that. The city is historically elected to appoint their own emergency management coordinator. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you have and keep things moving for you.
All right. Any questions for Captain Tinney? Well done. I'm sorry. I'm
We
sorry,
had a lot of
Ms.
help.
Rowan.
Everybody in the city pulled this thing together over the course of
I
about
don't
a
have
year.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say we're exhausted and thank you for hanging out.
I can only imagine. I'm glad I'm here and not there.
Nicely done. It's
Yeah.
good to have the sort of the scrubbing of the plan and the efficiencies uncovered. Thank you.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
Yep, Mr. Corbin.
Yeah, very comprehensive plan. Thank you. Very well written. Sorry that Kim held us up this evening and in the earlier discussion, but thank you for sticking it out. Appreciate it.
It's okay. All right. We're looking for a motion in regard to item 12, Echo 6.2.
Motion to motion to approve as presented.
Support.
Moved by Rowan, support by Corbin. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Vreeman.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Corbin.
Yes.
Rowan.
Yes.
Shay.
Yes.
Schultheis.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 13, communications from the city manager, Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, and you won't like this. I have some things. First, there's a rumor going around about an ice park. Yeah, Matt, you kind of corrected me earlier. But first of all, there was an election yesterday. And always lead with Clerk Caterberg and Aaron and staff. Again, fantastic job. That's appropriate. Some of you I know have served at the polls in the past. And probably if you don't work in City Hall for the weeks before and the weeks after, I don't think many people understand the amount of work that goes into each of those elections. And then particularly if you're here during the day or you're here when the polls closed and the phones are ringing and the absentee ballot counting board is closing and you just see them in action, problem solving and making sure that the accuracy, integrity of elections are held very high. You can be assured of that. And so, Brenda, thanks again publicly to you and your team. Probably others may, but I will just say from an administrative perspective and also as asked for, and I was happy to provide a perspective to a media request today, that what I perceive to be the trust of the community in the vote on the Headley override, which is an extremely complicated matter, as we all know, and yet the trust that was, I think, communicated in that we are able to maintain a historic millage rate, and I think in that enable us to continue to maintain the quality services that we provide to our citizens and our visitors. One of the core values of the city is that we very highly value the tax dollars that are entrusted with us. And I will publicly say that that is core, and it's talked about and it's reminded, and I see that in our employees every day, and we continue to commit to that. So just thank you to the voters out there. And you have our continued commitment that we take that very seriously. It also marks, there were a lot of positions on there. And first, I always just say the courage for someone to run for office, particularly today, I think is immense. And I greatly respect anyone that puts their self and their name out there. So for all, thank you for doing that. For a few, and I will note that we have council members Byrd and Soul. It's not that they're not here for other reasons. They were not able to be here anyway. I don't think they were going to be here anyway tonight. So I hope no one reads into that. I know that behind the scenes. But I've been honored to serve I guess more technically for them. Think highly of them both. And yet I also certainly welcome our newly elected officials and look forward to a very similar and positive relationship. And then, there is this little thing called the ice park, which I will say, in light of everything else, is also quite all-consuming right now. And in particular, Matt Van Dyken, I saw him do something pretty monumental the other day. He actually stood in front of his board. Some of you have seen this board in his office, and he signaled the transition from a project that was done. He crossed it out, and now it's just in full, like it's there. Now we just are making it operational. But we've had staff there till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and like gone maybe for 45 minutes, and then someone else is there an hour later, 45 minutes later, making ice, doing all of the intense preparations that I would expect that when people come and use it for the first time, and I would probably guess the second, third, fourth time, that they'll go, oh, like, yeah, everything worked great and it seems seamless. And that's fantastic, because that's what we are going for. But kind of like what I said about Brenda and her team, it doesn't just happen. And the amount of work with Andy Kenyon and Garrett Thalen and all the rest of the team there, I'm not going to name more names because I'll forget someone. You're seen, and we recognize you, and we're really excited about the opportunity, so thank you. And then I do have to just ask one thing. I am unclear, so you're going to have to help me on something. I don't know if I'm putting something on a study session or not, and the only thing I will say, sorry, is study sessions' purpose are for you to have discussions amongst yourself. And while people can make public comment, the purpose of study sessions is for you to have conversations about something amongst yourself. So that's all I will say. If you want to have a conversation amongst yourself, that's one thing. If you want to give opportunity for the public to give you feedback, there's other meetings that are structured for that include public hearings, and there's other ways to do that. Study sessions are not the primary purpose for that. So I would only input that, so maybe under your comments you can have a discussion and give me clear direction so I'm clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, mayoral appointments, communications from the mayor. I do have an appointment this evening, and I would ask the council to please approve the appointment of Paulina Polly-Korn to the Human Relations Commission for her first full term, said full term expiring June 30, 2028. She will fill a vacant seat left by Commission member Mishili, whose term expired on June 30, 2025, and I would be looking for a motion in that regard.
So moved.
Moved by Vreeman. Is there support? Support by Schulteis. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to say, I think Polly is a great example of, I've known Polly for a long, long time, and it never would have occurred to me that to reach out to her, and I don't know why. We don't work together anymore, and we ran into her at the Loud thing, and now she's on this. Now she's going to be on the Human Relations Commission, and I'm very excited about that. If you look at her application, you'll see that she will be a great asset, and we've got all kinds of people on commissions that are great assets to our city. So you spend some time thinking about people you know and people you run across, and and invite them to put in an application for a committee, because there's so many great people out there, so.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Shea?
Yeah, I just want to say I am also really excited to see Polly on the board, the commission, I should say, and just a real big thanks to Terry DeYoung for encouraging her nomination and bringing her name forth. So I appreciate that to Terry. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I do also have a proclamation this evening in regard to Veterans Day. Whereas for more than 100 years, it's been our custom to commemorate November 11, the anniversary of the ending of World War I. And whereas on this date we celebrate Veterans Day to pay tribute to the heroes of that tragic struggle by rededicating ourselves to the cause of peace. And whereas in the intervening years, the United States has been involved in other military conflicts, which added millions of veterans living and dead, many from our city, to the honor rolls of this nation. And whereas we are forever indebted to the men and women of the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Space Force for their service and sacrifice in defense of the freedom of our great nation. And whereas we acknowledge the work of our local veterans chapters and organizations that faithfully serve and represent our Holland area veterans. Whereas we advocate with urgency for greater support to address the many issues faced by our veterans like unemployment, homelessness, disabilities, including mental health care. And whereas we thank our City of Holland staff members, City of Holland City Council members, and their families for faithful service to our nation. And whereas we pray for hope, renewal, and the well-being of our veterans and their families in Holland and throughout our great nation. Now therefore I, Mayor Nathan Box, and the City of Holland City Council do hereby proclaim November 11, 2025, Veterans Day, a day to thank veterans across our nation and in our community for the sacrifice of their service. We encourage our community to participate in events honoring our veterans through appropriate public ceremonies and private prayers. We call upon our community to remember those who have fallen to protect the freedoms that we enjoy today, and we pray for the safety of those currently serving. Let us come together to pray for peace in our world on this Veterans Day. Given under my hand and the seal of the City of Holland this 5th day of November, 2025, Mayor Nathan Box. And I do have just a couple of things, and Keith, you said these so well, but I have to put an exclamation point on a couple of them. One, Headley, yes, thank you to members of the public for having faith and confidence in the Holland City Council and the staff for what I believe is an incredibly well-run city. It was very complicated language. I think, as you had said, you need a PhD to understand that language. It made it look like we may be interested in raising the millage rate 3 mills for the next X number of years, which we tried to very clearly say to the public that that was not our intent. I think difficult for people to understand that, but I think that what came through is that the people of the City of Holland recognize that this board does a pretty good job serving the city. I think, matter of fact, does a spectacular job serving the city, and I think tonight's meeting was a good example of how a good legislative body can work in a very healthy manner. And I am a little bit saddened that neither Quincy nor Belinda are here, and I am saddened that I'm no longer going to be able to serve with them. If my math is right, I sat in the meeting 10 years ago when Quincy first interviewed to be appointed to City Council for his first appointment, and have known and become great friends with him over that time period. I would do Belinda before she ever even thought about running for council, and it's been a pleasure to serve with both of them, and I'm very excited to serve with the 2 new incoming members, both of whom I've known for years as well. This is a small town, but not that small, but it's great to be able to sit here with folks that you've known for a long time and have a history and a good trusting relationship with. I think that's going to be great. And I hope that all 4 of them were watching the meeting either live or will be watching it on tape. Boy, I'm old. I said tape, didn't I? Quincy and Belinda, so that they can see that we missed them and that we're sorry to see them go, but then also for both Tim and for Abby to see how this body functions, even when there's disagreement amongst us. It's not disagreeable, that we are able to come to conclusions and converse with one another civilly, which is one of our founding principles. And so I hope that they're all able to see that and understand that we're missing the two and happy to serve with the two new ones that are coming in. And to that end, our next meeting, council members, is our biannual organizational meeting where we will be electing Mayor Pro Tem, we will be electing Chief Governance Officer, we will be also reaffirming our rules of council. And so we will be taking a look at those in the interim. You will also be receiving or have received, I wish I could take credit for it. It says it's coming from me, but it's all Mallory, believe me, behind the scenes. You will be receiving a survey of where you might be interested in serving on boards, committees, and commissions, because every 2 years we mix that up, not only because I think it's a good idea, but also because we have new members coming in. And so we want to do that. And as I always try to do, I try to pit as many people where they would like to be as much as possible. It's not always possible to get everybody their first choice every single place. So please let me know what it is that you're interested in doing, and we'll try to fit as many people in as many places as we can. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the next 2 years of service. This is a great body to be able to work with. And that is all I have this evening. Next item is appointments, motions, communications from council members. Anything from council members this evening? Mr. Schulteis. And then Ms. Rowland.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Keith, I second the help that you and your staff provided in the Headley override discussion. Several times I was asked by residents of the city, what does that mean? And with confidence, my learning curve is long on this one, I was able to explain what the actual topic was and why it was important. So really appreciate the time that you and staff put into helping us. Mayor, along with you, with Quincy and Belinda not here, but ensure that they're recognized. Both of them, to me, mentors and fantastic colleagues. They'll be missed in the same way. I'm excited about 2 new colleagues to get to work with. Fundamentally, the voters never get it wrong. So we have a new council, and it'll be a fun new era for all of us. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah. Kim.
Thank you. I just wanted to say congratulations to all of our candidates here who were reelected to the city council. As for Belinda and Quincy, they both served really important functions for their wards. I enjoyed both of them very much. And I thought everybody here has a particular voice and a particular perspective, and I think those Quincy's and Belinda's voices will be missed. I look forward to getting to know the 2 new members of our city council, and I hope for the comity between us to continue to function and grow in a respectful and functional way for our city council. And thank you to all of my colleagues who I serve with, and thanks for all of your hard work on Headley. It was an important proposal. It was complicated. Unlike Mike, I never was able to successfully explain it, but I have a fragile understanding of it myself, and I just kept referring people to the website and trust the educational sessions that were provided, and those were very helpful. So thanks to everybody for their hard work.
Ms. Raymond.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the HIAC students for their comments earlier. So appreciated what you had to say about the community and how important diversity and inclusion is. We have, well, I'm speaking on myself, but I think my colleagues also agree that in making sure that people feel welcome in our community is very important. So I'm glad that you feel that and still work towards making that even better. So thank you so much for your words. I'll just drop in a few words too about Quincy and Belinda. I've known Quincy for many years, and we knew each other in an entirely different life, and so it's always it was so interesting for us to work together in this capacity, and I have so appreciated his perspective and his commitment to the community and to his family and to just being the best version of himself. And so I've just so appreciated working alongside of him in this capacity. And Belinda, I remember talking with her while she was running 4 years ago, and she was so excited, and I was so excited to have her perspective at the table. It is so unique, and I have so appreciated her input, and hopefully we can carry along some of those, like we do with Mike. We can carry along some of their important pieces to make sure that their voices are included in conversations going forward as well.
Mr. Freeman.
Just adding on my gratitude to both Quincy and Belinda as well, and serving with them, and the honor to do that. I've reached out to them privately as well, and just to say thanks, and looking forward to our new colleagues coming up.
Mr. Corbin.
Yes, I'd like to express thank you to the citizens of Holland, 5th Ward, for re-electing me. So I'm very honored to be able to serve another 4 years and have these vigorous debates with my colleagues on dais. But also to Mr. Byrd and Ms. Soul, they've been wonderful colleagues on the board. I've learned a lot from each one of them, a lot of different angles, a lot of perspectives I didn't have, and I've learned from them. So I really appreciate that and wish them well in the future. My apologies, Ms. Rowan. I did say Kim. I should have said Ms. Rowan, Councilman Rowan. I apologize for that. I kind of lost my way there. I do support this ice park, and I don't want any misinterpretation by me bringing up the statements and comments and dialogue that I've had that would anyway be offensive to the staff or the personnel. The city manager, I'm really trying to make the process work for us. And I've even bought 9 tickets lately. So for the 15th, I bought 9 tickets for family and friends to come out and have a good time. So I'm really excited about it. I think that the public for the Headley, likewise to what the council has mentioned already, it's very important for us to do what we said, our promises that we made from this diocese, at least the ones that have been here while we were trying to encourage the public to roll back the Headley Amendment. This is important to maintain the fiscal responsibility we've always had done and what future boards have done and what I hope future boards will do. So thank you to the public for passing that. And I know that this process can be messy. That's a democratic process. That's the way it is. And I hope people take that for what it is. We are all very respectful of one another. Hopefully I wasn't too disrespectful in any way to anyone. I just want to make sure that I express how I feel about the issues that are before us. And I hope that we can have a study session. I don't know if that's agreeable to everyone here, but I think if we're having a study session anyways, having 15, 20 minutes, half an hour discussion on it so we really understand what we're doing with this ordinance and how we're switching it, I think would be very helpful. But that's me. But thank you for the time.
Any other motions, communications from council members? All right, at this point, I would entertain a motion to enter into a closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property. And for those who are watching at home, it is very likely that we will be coming out of closed session and may take action, but we will not be on camera for that. So if you are interested in finding out if we took action and what the results of that action were, you can contact City Hall first thing tomorrow morning because we just as soon not have to have our video person stay here while we're having further discussion, but we will. So I would entertain that motion to enter into a closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property.
So moved.
Moved by Vreeman. I've got support by Schultheis. Any discussion? Seeing none, Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Raymond,
Yes.
Corbin,
Yes.
Rowan,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Schultheis,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
and Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful. We're going to take a 10-minute break because Mr. Corbin's running out of the room, and then we'll be right back with closed session.